Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started here right at 11. I wanted to go ahead and welcome everyone to the Novaccess Global Shareholders Meeting. My name's Dawn, and I am the Operations Coordinator for Novaccess Global. I'm going to go ahead and read the forward-looking statement, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Dwain Irvin. This information package contains forward-looking statements, which includes forecasts and timelines. Often, but not always, forward-looking statements can be identified by the use of words such as plans, will, purposes, expects, estimates, intends, anticipates, or believes, or variations of such words and phrases, or state that certain actions, events, or results may, could, would, might, or will be taken, occur, or be achieved. Forward-looking statements involve known and unknown risks, uncertainties, and other factors which may cause the business to have actual results, performance, or developments to be materially different from any future results, performance, or developments expressed or implied by the forward-looking statements. Although the company has attempted to identify important factors that could cause actual results, performance, or developments to differ materially from those described in forward-looking statements, there may be other factors that cause results, performance, or developments not to be as anticipated, estimated, or intended. There can be no assurance that forward-looking statements will prove to be accurate, as actual results, performance, or developments could differ materially from those anticipated in such statements. All nominal figures will be presented in US dollar amounts. Accordingly, participants in this meeting and recipients of this presentation should not place undue reliance on forward-looking statements, as the company can make no guarantee of future results. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Dwain Irvin, our CEO. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Hello, everyone. Great to see you this morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the annual meeting of shareholders of Novaccess Global. I'm Dwain Irvin, Chief Executive Officer, and I'm a candidate for election as director. I would like to introduce our other board members, as well as our officers of Novaccess who are with us today. John Casarini, Chairman of the Board and our Audit Committee. Jason Anderson, Director and member of the Audit Committee. Neil Laird, our Chief Financial Officer. Dr. Christopher Wheeler, President of Stemvax Therapeutics subsidiary. We are going to first give a presentation concerning the company's business and then turn the meeting to the more formal portion. So let's see, we will shift gears here to this. Okay. So the presentation will consist of a few things. I'll introduce the company first and some of our team members. Then we'll provide a brief introduction into the technology and the asset. We'll shift gears into market analysis and some investor highlights. And then I'll turn it over to Neil Laird to provide a financial update. And then we'll finish the meeting off with a more official portion and the voting. So who are we? Novaccess Global is a pre-IND biotechnology company. We have assets in immunotherapy to treat the most common adult brain tumor, glioblastoma multiforme. We are an SEC-registered OTCQB company, and we are seeking FDA approval for human clinical trials at this stage, which makes us a pre-IND company. Part of what we bring together is an expert scientific team, as well as a very strong managerial team. And our overall mission is to accelerate through innovation and bring these technologies to market as quickly as possible. Our overall business plan under mission is to acquire by acquisition, not too different than the acquisition for Stemvax. And then, of course, we bring our expert scientific and managerial team, as I said before, to accelerate bringing these novel technologies to market. We're very much interested in novel technologies, immunotherapy, stem cell therapy, nanotechnology in this space. I'm really happy with this slide because it shows the kind of growth that we've had in the last 2 years. On the left-hand panel is our management team with me as the CEO, and Neil Laird we brought on last year and a few months ago as our CFO, very long in the tooth and working with public companies in the biotech space. We were excited about having Dr. Christopher Wheeler, who's worked with me for over 15 years in this particular area and is leading all scientific investigations for the current asset that we'll talk about briefly later. I also have John Casserini, who is our chairman of the board. Actually, at this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to John and allow him to have a few words. John, are you with us?
Good morning, I am. Thank you, Dwain.
Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the annual meeting of shareholders of Novaccess Global. My name is John Casserini, and I am chairman of the board of directors and the audit committee. During the past year, Novaccess Global, under the stewardship of Dr. Irvin, has advanced its next generation immunotherapies for glioblastoma. Glioblastoma is an ugly disease, ruining lives and families throughout the world. Our third generation immunotherapy attempts to improve survival rates and reduce its occurrences for our patients. The large and unmet market could provide shareholders substantial returns if we are successful. I would like to thank the shareholders for your support. Additionally, I would like to recognize and thank the employees of Novaccess Global. The team works tirelessly to further this potentially life-saving cure. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for that, John Casserini. Very much appreciated. I'd also like to introduce Jason Anderson, who's another board member with a lot of government experience, as well as experience as a CEO in the biotech industry as well. I'll introduce my scientific advisory board: Bernard Curry, Dr. Andrew Norris, Dr. Laird King, Dr. Kim Saruji. I'm excited to mention him because he's new. We added him this past year. Dr. Lachlan Thompson and Dr. Peter Weinstein. I'll just briefly mention Dr. Weinstein is also a legal counsel for StemVax and has been for the length of its existence. He also has a Ph.D. in immunology and is very well and has a company or two in the space that we're interested in as well. Let's see here. Okay, so we will shift gears now to the asset or the technology, and I will be brief here. But we do want to, this is a scientifically research and development company, and so I do want you guys to all be aware of the asset that you have and how it works generally, so that you can communicate to others. So we're working on, our first indication is glioblastoma. It's one of the most common adult brain tumors. The incident rate here in the US is roughly 20,000 patients per year. This disease does not discriminate on any level. Some of the most popular people with some of the best healthcare, like Ted Kennedy and John McCain, have recently suffered from this disease. And despite the advances in chemo and radiation for the last 40 or 50 years, these individuals were not able to benefit from that and died in less than 2 years after diagnosis. So there is a strong unmet need. I would also like to add, we're very much interested in improving the quality of life for glioblastoma patients. And if you go to our website, we have a strong patient advocacy group that we're putting together. And we start off with a lovely interview with Corey Freeman, who's a very strong glioblastoma patient advocate. And I encourage you all to go to our website and take a look at the link. Okay, so again, the problem that I'm mentioning here is that glioblastoma is one of the most common adult brain tumors with less than a 15-month median survival. The standard of care for this particular tumor, the neurosurgeon will go in, remove the tumor or parts of the tumor, whatever you can do safely, and then typically patients undergo chemotherapy and radiation. Unfortunately, with that still, despite all the advances in chemo and radiation that have benefited other cancers like prostate, breast, or colon, we haven't seen these sort of advances in survival for brain tumor patients in over 40, 50 years. So the solution has been to try a novel approach, not chemo, not a new chemo drug, not radiation, but immunotherapy, utilizing the patient's immune system to attack the cancer. And this is something that the chairman of the department worked on starting way back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and that we've continued to work on since. There are three major categories for immunotherapy. We're very much focused in on a dendritic cell-based approach. Okay, so briefly, what is this dendritic cell-based approach? in this presentation, we'll define this dendritic cell vaccine or immunotherapy as a first and third generation, because the first generation has already made it through phase 1 and phase 2 clinical trials, and it's already demonstrated some improvement in survival. When I came on board some years after this first generation of therapy was developed in the department, we came up with a third generation, another professor, second generation, but we'll only talk about the third generation today. This third generation approach effectively takes the dendritic cell-based immunotherapy and combines an additional component to it, what we call immune boosters. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But effectively, we tried this third generation and tested it against the first generation in our animal models. And we were able to show that we had significant improvement in survival in our animal models. And so from that period, we now want to take this to human clinical trials based on that data and others. Okay. So how does this work? As I mentioned before, the neurosurgeon will go and remove the tumor. This is just a bit of a diagram or schematic of how this works. They will move the tumor, send it to the laboratory. Then they will also remove blood from the patient, send that to the laboratory. We isolate antigens from these tumor cells, or protein pieces, or cellular pieces, or even some of the genetic material. And then we isolate specialized immune cells from the blood sample. And then we do our little sort of mix, if you will, proprietary mix, where we add in these immune boosters, otherwise known as toll-like receptor adjuvants. And then with this combination, we prepare these specialized immune cells to go and identify these cancer cells and instruct the rest of the immune system to attack and kill the cancer. And we give these specialized immune cells with sort of a zip code, if you will, to the cancer cells, and we give those back to the patient subcutaneously. Then those immune cells migrate to what they do, and they communicate with other immune cells to attack the cancer. So in brief, over with the technology, we have a parent immunotherapy that our third generation immunotherapy in our animal models has shown to outperform. And we are now ready to start human clinical trials. We had a pre-IND interaction with the FDA last year. They said indeed that we are indeed done with our animal studies, and they provided us a roadmap to pursue either a phase 1 or phase 2 human clinical trial. Okay. And so we're very excited about that, and we are moving forward aggressively to put this IND application together. We'll now shift gears from technology to market analysis and some investor highlights around the asset. Okay. So the current market in this space is over 700 million. And by the year 2026, it's scheduled to be over almost a $3 billion market. We anticipate that this will take us at least 70 years to bring this technology to market. So by the time we come to market, it should be well over a $3 billion market. Again, there's a significant unmet need. As I've mentioned before, there's a 15-month median survival after diagnosis with the most advanced chemo and radiation we have today. And so there is no immunotherapy available for these patients today for brain tumors. However, immunotherapy is available for other cancers, prostate cancers, and other. We just haven't had a market penetration yet for brain cancer. So when we bring this technology to market, we expect significant market penetration after registration. So glioblastoma is our first indication. It's the first thing that we're going after because it is a large unmet need, and I have a personal reason for it as well. And as I mentioned before, by the time our asset comes to market, presumably, it should be well over a $3 billion market. Some of the highlights that we'd like to also express while we start to target glioblastoma at first through a therapeutic approach, we plan to expand upon this to improve the quality of life for our glioblastoma patients. We want to do this through novel therapeutics, novel diagnostics, medical devices, and such. Furthermore, we would like to take advantage of more cutting-edge assets to help us achieve this goal. We're very much interested in artificial intelligence or predictive technologies to help us in all of these areas that I've just mentioned. So we're looking at assets in that space right now. We also want these assets to be a little further along, a little closer to market, or almost market ready, or in market. And so We're also looking at assets that would actually allow us to generate revenue and take us beyond an R&D company solely to an R&D plus revenue generating biotech company. So having said that, I will now turn this presentation over to our fantastic CFO, Neil Laird, to provide a financial update on the company.
Thank you, Dwain, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting. So if we could move this slide along. So I'm going to cover 4 different areas of focus: what we've done over the last year in terms of raising capital to fund our operations, what we've done to improve our capital structure, and how we managed expenses and ensured compliance with our reporting requirements. And I'll deal with those one at a time. So the next slide. So we've maintained good control over expenses. We've run a pretty tight ship, a very tight ship, and made sure we've only spent money where we've absolutely had to. We've used about just over $700,000 cash in operations, mainly spent on the payroll, consulting fees in respect of our IND application and compliance associated with that, insurance, legal audit, and accounting and interest on the loans. Certainly nothing other than the basic operations that we were required. We funded these operations by $740,000 of cash received. That was from loans with a couple of very good partners and stock subscriptions from friends and family mainly. And we did spend $125,000 to help us restructure our capital, as I'm going to talk about now. So in March of 2022, we purchased and redeemed 24,400 of Series B preferred stock. That left us with just $600 of preferred stock. That really improved our capital structure, and we've heard from a number of investors who are now interested in the company now that we've reduced that overhang. The preferred shares had a 1 to 10,000 conversion ratio, so reducing the size of that overhang was pretty critical and was also important in helping us get upgraded from the pink sheets in August of this year to the OTCQB. With that upgrade, that allowed us to go ahead and file an S1. And that S1 became effective in September of 2022. It registered up to 23.9 million shares, and of which 8.4 million were currently outstanding. So ISVT, Novaccess Global, actually owns 7.5 million shares, about 40% of our total outstanding. These shares have been registered now as a result of this S1, and IVST is distributing these shares to their shareholders. So once that is done, our unaffiliated float will have grown from 2.9 million shares, about 16% of our total, to just under 50%, 48%. And with a few other shares being registered, I think we will have more than half our shareholder base registered shares unaffiliated, which should improve the marketability of the company. At the same time, we focused on getting our SEC filings in time. In the March quarter of 2021, we filed that on time. And since then, we've made every filing required on time. The 10K for the year ended September 30th, 2022. It's in process and is currently on schedule to file before the end of the year. And this slide just shows you our capital structure. Just under 40% is held by over 300 individual shareholders. Dwain, our CEO, Dwain Irvin, has just under 10%. AJB Capital, who have been our most significant partner in terms of providing us with funding, mainly in the form of loans, have 8.5%. I have just 1.4%. And then we have the Novaccess Global 40.5%. So when that distribution occurs, it's going to be above 50% for the unaffiliated float. That's the summary on finance, and I'll pass it back to Dwain now.
Thank you very much for that, Neil. Excellent summary of all the advances you've done to help improve the cap structure for the company. I love Neil. He's very, very good at CFO and very good at handling the company's money. So I just want to briefly talk about what we achieved last year. This is our first annual meeting. You will receive annual meetings, shareholder meetings of this kind every year, typically in the October, November months, as our fiscal year ends September 31st. Last year in 2022, we sought to uplist from Pink Sheets, as Neil mentioned, to QB. We managed to do that. More importantly, from the technology perspective, we wanted to be able to identify the manufacturing partner necessary and or required to help us generate the data needed for the IND application as described by the FDA. And we interrogated 13 companies that met that profile and chose one. We're excited about it. They were of the top global manufacturing companies. We look forward to executing on that shortly. In fact, we're raising capital to move that forward. We've also sought to obtain FDA Orphan Drug designation, and I'm happy to say that we were able to achieve that before the end of the year 2022. So what is it we're looking to do next year? What is it that we will report on next year around this time at our annual meeting? Well, as I mentioned before, we are in the process of obtaining bridge financing to complete the data generation needed for our IND application. Once we've done that, we plan to file the IND application immediately. So this we plan to do in early 2023. If the markets are receptive, we plan to uplist to NASDAQ next year as well and get a lot more eyes on us and get a lot more activity. And then furthermore, we seek to hopefully obtain presumed FDA approval sometime towards the end of that year in 2024, or however the FDA decides. I should also add that we're considering adding additional assets to the portfolio. I briefly talked about that earlier. We're very much interested, since we are in public markets, to generate revenue. But more importantly, we're very much interested in improving the quality of life for our glioblastoma multiforme glioblastoma patients. Okay. That ends the unofficial portion of the meeting. And for those of you interested in reviewing today's presentation in additional detail, we will post it on our website and file it with the SEC. We will now begin the official portion of today's shareholders meeting. You'll have to excuse me, I will be reading from a piece of paper. I have been informed that today's meeting was properly called and convened, that a quorum is present for the conduct of business. Other than proposals contained in the company's notice of shareholder meetings filed with the SEC on November 7th, there are no other proposals or nominations for directors that were properly submitted to the company. There are 4 proposals to be voted on today. A proposal to elect 3 directors to our board to hold office until the next annual meeting of shareholders or until their respective successors are elected and qualified. Our current board members are standing for re-election: Jason M. Anderson, John A. Casarini, our chairman, and Dwain K. Irvin, our Chief Executive Officer. Proposal number 2, a proposal to approve the Novaccess Global Incorporated 2022 Equity Incentive Plan adopted by our board on May 12th, 2022, and filed with the SEC on May 16th. Proposal number 3, a proposal to approve a non-binding advisory basis the fiscal 2021 compensation of our senior executive officers, which is summarized under the Executive Compensation Plan on page 11 of our annual report on Form 10-K for the year ended September 30th, 2021, filed with the SEC on January 13th, 2022. 4th proposal, a proposal to ratify the appointment of the accounting firm M&K CPAs to serve as our independent registered public accounting firm for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2022. I move that the shareholders of Novaccess Global approve each of these proposals. Is there a second?
Yes, I second.
Thank you, Neil. I declare the proposals to be closed. If you have not voted and wish to, please email us at info@novaccessglobal.com today, and we will provide you with a ballot. All ballots must be received by the close of business today to be counted. Our corporate secretary has informed me that we have received ballots representing voters sufficient to approve all 4 proposals. We will file an 8-K detailing the final vote. There being no further business at this time to come before the meeting, our annual meeting is adjourned. Thank you for attending the Novaccess Global 2022 annual meeting. Have a good day and God bless. Thank you.